Now the next thing we will look at is working with different kinds of worksheets. So I mean creating a new sheet or something like that. Now yeah, here we'll not take here we'll not look at any errors in the data, right? So we will go ahead with a slightly clean data set. Now let's say these are the different guys who are there in the list. Now what I would like to do is the same thing whatever we have done in terms of copying the data of these players. Instead of copying them to probably sheet 3 or something, this time I may be more interested in creating 7 new sheets, one for each of these players, and copying their data into that sheet only. Right? So it's like once I just simply start off, I can simply create a sheet for them and copy the data into that sheet. Right? So instead of copying all their things to sheet 3, one below the other, whatever is the list that is there, for that entire guys, I want to create new sheets and simply copy their data into that new sheets. Right? All right. So what we'll do is we can make a copy of this itself, because half of the work is more or less the same until the identification of the player and all these things. It is more or less same. Instead of pasting it into the existing sheet 3, we are creating a new sheet. We are creating a new sheet and pasting it into that sheet. That's the only thing. So let me copy the code which we have already written, right? And probably write it into a new module, right? And I will call this sub as working with worksheets. This is the sub I am saying. So in this also we'll do the same thing. Okay, we'll select the player, we'll get the first occurrence of that player and all that stuff. Yeah, but before that, for 1 to the selected player count, I have to create a new sheet. Right? I have to create a new sheet. So I have to define some worksheet kind of stuff. So I'll say dim ws as worksheet. So just like integer and all, I can define something as a worksheet type also, as a type called worksheet also. So what I'll do here is, right, here I'll say worksheet dot add, right, and I will see if the worksheet name already exists. See, first of all, I'll say simply say worksheets dot add. Just I'll show you both the scenarios. I'll simply say worksheet dot add, right, or ws is equal to worksheets dot add, because we have defined ws as a worksheet. I am saying worksheets dot add, and I'll say ws dot name is equal to player name, but player name we are finding out here. So probably these two steps also I'll bring it once I know the player name. Correct? Here I'll simply say, right, here I'll simply say ws equal to worksheets dot add. I am adding a new worksheet, and ws dot name is equal to player name. So that particular worksheet, I am giving a name which is equal to the name of the player itself. Right? And now what I will do, instead of select, so I have copied, I have gone to sheet 1. In that sheet 1, I have copied the data of that player. But instead of pasting it in sheet 3, I will not paste it in sheet 3 now. I will paste in the sheet player name. So sheets player name dot select cells 1,1 dot select. In that sheet, select the A1 cell, then do the pasting. That's it. You have copied. You have already created the sheet with the player name. You have already created the sheet with the player name. So once because you don't need to have two pastes, only one. You have already copied the sheet called the player name. So because of that, you are directly opening that sheet called the player name, and you are pasting it there itself. Now let's try running it. Will it work or not? We'll see. Right? It will generally create some small problem. Here it will work, but after that it will create a problem. We'll look at that also and we'll address it. All we have done as a change is very simple, because the difference between, see, if you do it manually also, what is the difference? If I say copy this person's data one below the other in the same sheet versus a new sheet. If it is one below the other, you will not create a new sheet. You will go into the existing sheet itself, identify where is the blank row, there you do a control V manually. So this is just the manual process. But if it is a new sheet, what is that you are saying? For every player, you are creating one new sheet. Right? And after that, once a new sheet is created, you are going into sheet 1, copying the data, coming to that sheet, the player's sheet, in the first location doing the pasting of it. The same thing we are giving it as a set of instructions to the system. So the coding is nothing different from just visualize to the minute level what are the steps you will do if I ask you to do that task manually. Right? If I ask you to see manually also, if I ask you to copy paste, right? Copy paste, let's say Tendulkar's data into a new sheet called Tendulkar. What are the set of things you do? First, I will create a new sheet, insert a new sheet. That is what is worksheets.add. I'll name that sheet as SR Tendulkar. Then I'll come to this location. I'll copy whatever is the Sachin Tendulkar's data. Correct? Then I'll come to this sheet, whatever is the sheet which is there, and I'll paste it there. That is what is the manual process. That is what is the series of steps we have given to the system also. So if you know that minute level step by step details, you can very well write the code also very easily. You should not omit even a small step, because you are instructing the system. See, when you do it, probably you ignore Control C, come here, Control V. And probably after you do a Control V, you may change the name of the sheet or something. But whatever you do, every step, whatever you do manually, that entire thing has to be given as an instruction to the system. Right? Including just an add or delete or whatever you are doing, it has to go as an instruction into the system. Then only you can, and that is what is the program. Right? Now let's try executing it. Let's see if it works or not. Oh, I had some. Sorry? Yeah, in the earlier case, we did not add the worksheet because we were already pasting into the same sheet itself. But here we are adding worksheet and going to that sheet and pasting, instead of going to sheet 3, identifying what is the first non-blank location. Right here we don't need to identify the non-blank location because this is the sheet. We don't need to identify the first non-blank location here for the simple reason this is a new sheet. If it is a new sheet, I don't need to identify a non-blank location. Right in the cell 1 itself, I can do the pasting. Right? Okay. Object variable or with the block variable not set. Okay. So the worksheets one, instead of simply saying WS, I'll have to say set WS equal to this one. The worksheets and workbooks, I have to explicitly use a term called set when I am assigning it. So any new worksheet I am adding, worksheets.add, I am assigning it to a thing called WS. So I have to set it explicitly. So I have to use, whenever a new worksheet is added and I am assigning it to some variable like this, I have to, or even with a workbook also, I have to use set as a function explicitly. Now you will see, new sheets got added. One for V. Kohli, one for R. Dravid, SC Ganguly and all. We got new sheets added. And you go here, RG Sharma data is copied into RG Sharma. SC Ganguly data is copied into SC Ganguly. We didn't do anything much. Just 2-3 lines of extra code, which are simply given. Now the problem comes. If I run it again, it will, the sheet already exists. The name of that sheet already exists. So it will give me the error also. It will create all kinds of problems now. If you run it again, cannot rename a sheet to the same name. So this is what probably we have to handle. See, every time manually I cannot delete all the sheets and again re-add that. That would be even more difficult. So what I will do is, before I, if I give delete, generally what happens is, every time, okay, I'll give you the option of delete also. So player name is this, right? Sheets player name this is the message that comes always. Data may exist in the sheet. Selection for deletion. To permanently delete the data, press delete. Every time, for every person, this message comes. So assume there are 30 or 40 or 50. You will get this message. There is no way. You are getting it finally. But that message keeps coming every time. Right? So that's where if there are, let's say, 100 such numbers, 100 times you have to press that message. There is no way you can bypass that message. Because every time you are deleting the data, it will give that message as a, and you cannot handle the data directly, handle that message directly. So that is where what we can also look at as an alternative is, instead of deleting and then adding, that's a default. Even in Excel itself, let's say you try to delete this sheet. This message is an Excel message, not your VBA message. So instead of using delete, what I'll use is I'll use another construct, right? I'll also define one more worksheet, dim ws1 as another worksheet. What I am doing with that is I'll check if that player name already exists. So like for each, I use another construct called for each. Just like for, there is one more construct called for each. Right? For each ws1 in sheets. Next, I'll check whether that player name already exists. Right? If that sheet exists with the player name. If ws1 dot name is equal to player name, go to, if the player name already exists, go to, you don't need to add that player anymore, add the sheet for that player anymore. So I'll say go to 0, which means these two steps should not be executed then. So this 0 I'll put here. Getting this? See, wherever, see here what I am saying is, I'll check if in the existing sheets, there is a sheet that is already existing for the player name. So for every sheet that is present in WS1, in the sheets, in the collection of sheets, I am seeing if the name of the player matches. You don't need to execute the next two statements, worksheet.add and the name. You can directly, it means the sheet is already created. So go to your data, copy the data and come to open this sheet and paste it if the name is already existing. Otherwise, you create a new sheet. Getting this or not? See, the first player, let's say, is S.R. Tendulkar. The player name is coming here. Now what I am doing is, I am checking the list of all the sheets. Sheets is a collection. So I have defined WS1 as one worksheet, an object of that worksheet. So I am saying for each WS1, for each worksheet in the sheets, so which means for all these things will be checked. All the sheets that are already existing in this list of sheets, they will be checked. For what? If at any point in time, for any of those sheets, the name of that sheet is same as the player name. If it is same as that player name, obviously you don't need to create a new sheet. Right? If there is already a sheet with R. Dravid existing, I don't need to create an additional sheet for him. I just need to come here and paste his data. That's it. I don't need to create a new sheet for him. Correct? So that is what I am saying here. If it is, if the player name or if the sheet exists with that player name already, don't execute these two things, which is adding a new sheet and naming that sheet to the player name. Don't do these two things. Directly jump to this step. Jump to this step called 0, where you will execute these things. So if at all you are not able to find the player name, a sheet with the player name, this will be over and these two will be executed. Getting it? The usage of go to has to be understood very clearly. If at all the sheet is already existing, I don't want to add. The adding and renaming I don't want to do. If it is not existing, then only I want to add. That is what I am checking here. if it is already existing, I would directly jump to the next step after the addition of the sheet, because there is no point in adding that sheet, because anyhow it will give me an error. Right? And one more thing I may suggest is, after it copied, after you select the particular player name sheet, it's better that that entire sheet contents are cleared. Right? Probably. So it's like range A to whatever, some range dot delete. So that I mean, the already copied and pasted data, it will be deleted, and again you can paste the data afresh. Right? Otherwise it will overwrite. No? Here, I mean, now there are, let's say, 300 data lines. But next time you find only 200 data lines, you'll still see 300 here. So that's where if I just delete this entire stuff and then paste it, it's just like this. See, right? Let's say there are 340 now. Now from here, from the main sheet, I simply copy these things and paste. Only a few things will be pasted. Rest all will still lie for Rahul Dravid only here. Unless I delete this entire thing and repaste, things which are at the bottom will still exist as it is. So that's where it's better to delete the data and then redo the pasting exercise. Now let's run it. Duplicate declaration in the current scope. Okay. Where is this? Where did we declare duplicate? Go to 0. Okay, even here also we said go to 0. So we'll use one more term here then. I'll say go to 1. Because 2 times we have used 0, it's not knowing where to go. Paste method of worksheet class failed. Oh, after I delete, I cannot paste it, right? Because of this delete. So what should we do is, once the player name is selected itself, here itself, sheets player name dot select range A to Z dot delete. Let's do it here itself. So that here I will not do the delete, because see, generally also in manual way, just look at it like this. The manual way, let's say I copy this data like this. See, I come here, I delete the data like this, right? I come here and do the paste will not be available. Right? Because the control is going up. That copied highlighted thing will go up. So you cannot paste it. That is what is the error it is giving. So that's where I am saying delete I will not do during that process. After copy I should not do the delete. After copy I should simply come here and paste. So before only you should do it. So that's where I am saying here itself I will take care of the deleting process. Right? Now this should give me a problem. This should not give me any problem. Okay, sheets player name dot select what is the problem now? Now there is no problem. Now it has pasted properly. Right, even if the data was there, now let's assume that I'll add one more new record just to test it out. Right, 7 are already existing guys. Right, the 8th guy I'll add extra. The 8th guy I'll add extra to the list. Yeah, only for that 8th guy the sheet got created. For no one else the sheet got created. So that's how we can see. All we have to do is think through the logic. See, at the end we did not use any big number of constructs, but we are able to execute almost all the key things that we do as a part of our regular business operations as a part of our jobs. The regular day-to-day business operations, which are more and more routine in nature. See, this is a very common application where I may have to copy the data into multiple sheets. Same kind of a data, just based on some identifier. I want to take it and paste it into a different sheets. If that sheet already exists, yeah, you just open the sheet and you just open the sheet and paste it into it. Delete the existing data and paste it into this. Otherwise, you again recreate it. So it's if there are probably all the sheets required, right, for all people, right, just to see if it works, what I'll do is I'll copy all these guys. The biggest thing that may come is I am copying all these guys, removing all the duplicates. Right, I am removing all the duplicates. So I am keeping these as the players in the list. Right, I am assuming these are the players in the list. Now simply, so if you want to do it for all people, you can do this. Why only selected? For everyone I want it. Now yeah, you do this. It will work. Probably just sit for some time. You see all the sheets are getting created. So generally for these many people, if you have to create, how much time will you take? Just imagine that situation. There are so many people and manually every day you have to create a new sheet and send the data to them. You can imagine how much time would it typically take to create. But here it's just a matter of couple of minutes. Right, it has already come to 115 sheets. And each player's thing is separately created. The same thing can happen with the files also. I can create a separate file for each of the guys. So probably if you want, oh, there was caps versus a small, I suppose. It has completed the entire process. You see, almost for every person, almost for all the 200 guys, it has created the sheets. Wherever required, it has created. Now you see your Excel sheet. For every player, you will have a separate thing. For every player, you are having a separate thing, which is not, normally speaking, it would not be that easy to generate something like this. Correct? So normally it becomes very difficult to generate something like this, but it is becoming more easier through this process. Right?